Here we are, guys, in part 9 of this story. The Ondaime Hokage unknowingly makes a change during the sealing, the consequences of which are unimaginable for both Naruto and Konoha. What do these consequences mean for Naruto? Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. Kurama, it is time for me to fulfill my promise. So you aren't balking like I expected you to. When will you do it? I would release me right upon Orochimaru, you know. I could wreck up that mud hole of his for you, you know, a parting gift of sorts. I appreciate the offer. Truly I do. But I prefer not to let the world know that you are free. If they come after you desiring power, I will not be able to stop them if you are not present. Raikage has the amber sealing pot, and shinobi exist who are adept at sealing. True indeed. Will you release me here right inside of Konoha? It might be fun. For you, perhaps. No. I will release you the moment we are at a safe distance from Konoha. I swear it upon my forefathers and my grandchildren unborn that you will never face me as an opponent again, not of my own choosing. What? I think, you are actually serious, aren't you? About releasing me and the promise not to seek me out for power? No jokes, Kyuubi. I never break my word. I am a previous Hokage, after all. I hope you remain hidden when you are free, Kurama. If pain comes at you with his outer path, all your infinite chakra cannot save you. A long hour of silence ensued as Naruto rushed through the trees, Kakashi and Sasuke following him easily. And then... I know. He wields that power too well, it is what created me, and it can cause me no end of trouble. That's why. No. Don't tell me. Shut up. That is why I will help you in your endeavor. Peace is conducive to me as well, Naruto. I can fade into obscurity that way when men no longer want me for my power. I will have you as my Jinchuriki for now. But I will hold you to your promise when the time truly comes. Fine. I wouldn't want you to be captured anyway. And I will honor my promise to you when you demand it. I will one day make sure human malice will never touch the Baijiu again. Normally I would laugh heartily at such a declaration, said the Kyuubi quietly. But if anyone has a chance at such a thing, it would be you. You remind me of grandfather, a lot, what with all your ridiculous idealism and convictions. Grandfather? You mean the Rikodo Sennin? But the Kyuubi had gone silent, causing Naruto to go silent as well. Kurama's sudden faith in him was moving, he could faintly understand the uncounted centuries of suffering the tailed beasts must have gone through. It filled him with great shame that he had also once been party to conquering them for their power. The balance of power, huh? He murmured softly to himself, shaking his head disgustedly. Using such originally pure beings as pawns in a feudal games for power, he must have been insane in his other life. I can see your soul, Kyuubi, since it resides within mine. You are not a mass of hatred as I once foolishly thought you to be. You were made that way by us, by humans. I still feel ashamed about it. I would let you free right this instant but for your own decision. The warm acknowledgement from the strongest of the Baijiu put a smile on his face, and he raced forward with a renewed vigor. When he had asked Mito to seal the Kyuubi within herself, she had done so with little hesitation and without asking him why. Mito could not be faulted, his beautiful wife was always there to support him in every way possible. Just as I was not there for her in this life. I keep failing continuously it seems, he thought to himself sadly. It was his fault that day, his fault that so much suffering had been spread around to maintain the balance of power. His fault that he had foolishly, naively thought that distributing the Baijiu like weapons to the other nations would hold the balance. He shook his head sadly, the very act of distribution was wrong. How could an act, born out of ignorance and neglect, yield anything inherently good? He had begun to regret that fact now, an entire life later. The fact that he had even disturbed entities like the Baijiu. Foolish pride of his first youth, no doubt. He had begun a cycle of suffering that had thrown a huge wrench into Rikudo's intentions for the Baijiu. It was direct disrespect to the father of ninja, and to his own ideals. But I will end it in this life, he promised himself. He would one day gather all the 9 Baijiu, earn their respect, and give them a choice to be free. He had made a terrible mistake in letting the Baijiu be used as they had been, and the nations were paying a terrible price for it now. Dobi, are you fine? Asked Sasuke in a voice of faux concern. Naruto nodded as Kakashi called a halt in the middle of the forest. We will pause here for the night. At least we are within sight of Hai no Kuni. We also need to plan how we are going to go about this mission, said the copy ninja in his lazy voice. Wood rose out of the earth in tall pillars, molding itself into fantastic shapes to form a beautiful house of traditional architecture. Flowers bloomed across its sloping tiles, and detailed sculptures of stone rose on either side of its entrance. "Thank you," Naruto said Kakashi genially, as Sasuke gawked at the palatial house Naruto had built in seconds. "Well, are you coming or not?" asked Naruto as he walked happily to the house he had created. As he slid open the doors, a smile came onto his face. "It seems my attention to detail has improved," he said, pointing to the carvings on the roof and walls. The roof of the building was transparent, and allowed for them to see the night sky in all its glory. But the make of the house itself was quite royal. Sasuke shook his head, feeling deeply touched by the things Makuten could create. As a tool to build, or a force to destroy, it had no equal. He bent enough of his pride to admit that not even the Sharingan could achieve something like this. Sharingan was only about never-ending conflicts and destruction, not like Naruto's Makuten, which could spawn beauty such as this. Even when Makuten destroyed, it created. Even when it took several lives in the battlefield, it created several living plants. He had begun to think of the Susanoo as his tool of ultimate destruction. Several times he had used it to destroy hapless ninja he had encountered in the other missions. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, feeling in the Uchiha an all too familiar emotion. It was a tiredness of conflict, a loathing of malice, and at the same time an urge to do anything necessary to end the suffering. But therein lay the choice. The fine line between Madara and himself lay in that choice. The fine line between Pain and himself also lay in that choice. The choice of how to end the suffering. "I will put up intruder alert seals over the perimeter," said Kakashi, and vanished from sight. Naruto seated himself on the bed with a sigh, and turned to Sasuke, who was busily organizing his belongings. "I know it is not my place, but I can sense your melancholy. Talking will help, you know. It is never good for us shinobi to bottle our feelings," he said gently. He had seen firsthand the effects of such actions. It would drive the shinobi into despair and anger, and that would be the beginning of death. Sasuke laid out his bedspread neatly, and also sat down on his bed. He looked around the large room with a sense of envy, feeling the beautiful wood that made it. The room itself was furnished with all amenities required for a house, some so ostentatious that he doubted whether even the daimyo's house had such things. For one, he did not think a makeshift camp warranted a highly polished teak dining table. His Sharingan could tell easily that such a thing would fetch hundreds of thousands of ryo, even he could find no faults in its structure or smoothness. He turned to Naruto, and indicated the entire house with a wave of his hand. "All this," he said softly. "I begin to feel a lack of pride in my Sharingan," he confessed, drawing an absolutely shocked look from Naruto. That was certainly not what he had been expecting to hear, that too from an Uchiha fanatic like Sasuke. "What the? I know, it is amusing to you. But I begin to feel tired of our life of anger and killing. Is that all there is to it? Kill, gather power, kill, become powerful, become stronger. It is a vicious cycle," said Sasuke with sorrow. Naruto waited, knowing Sasuke was suffering deeply. Konoha had failed once more in following his edicts. Long ago he had made it law that children were not to participate in missions, and yet Sasuke had been forced to do so. There was no help for it. But it was saddening to see the despairing face of old veterans upon a young face like Sasuke's. "Killing fellow shinobi, I know that is a necessity," said Sasuke in a quiet voice. "I had to kill several in my missions with Kakashi. But when I was forced to kill children, not much older than me and many times younger than me. One was barely 12 years of age, it was horrible. They came at me to kill me, and I killed them in return, but to see the life leaving their eyes, terrible," said Sasuke, shaking his head. Then he glanced around the opulent castle Naruto had called up with his technique. "Seeing your Makuten being used in such a manner, it is changing my conception of the world," he confessed. Naruto's eyes widened, looking at the Uchiha with interest. "Oh? How so?" "For once, I have no wish to destroy things. Seeing this beautiful house so easily shaped, I too want to do something like that. Sharingan can only destroy, never create. I have destroyed and destroyed, repeatedly. I have killed children." Here his mouth twisted in self-loathing, and his eyes grew haunted. "You say you are Hashirama Senju reborn, so you may understand the joy of building everlasting things," he said after a few moments. "How did you build Konoha? I don't mean the story, I will hear that another time. I mean, exactly how did you build Konoha?" "With Toshi no Joshu," said Naruto softly. "As the assembled clans of Uchiha and Senju stood there waiting, I used Makuten to create what you know to be the inner ring of Konoha today." "I see," said Sasuke, trying to picture such a scene. "With You're Makuten, you can build things. You can rid entire lands of their drought, and your healing can bring people back from near their deaths. You have the strength to turn this world into a paradise, he said passionately. Naruto sat stunned at the fervent proclamation of the Uchiha. He had never ever heard any Uchiha speak that way. He had never suspected Sasuke to have changed this much in 3 years. No, he had not. These were profound thoughts Sasuke had put forth, and it touched something in him that he had thought was lost in endless conflict. My Sharingan is nothing more than a weapon, said Sasuke dismissively, as if realizing it just now. I only now understand what Itachi was trying to tell me all those years ago, as I begged and pleaded with him to tell me how he mastered those eyes at merely 8 years. Uchiha are not defined by their dojutsu, he said, but by something much deeper, something beyond even chakra. Silence fell over them as they heard a faint whisper come into the room. Kakashi watched Sasuke with a visible pride that shone strongly on his face, something that even Naruto felt. He could count on his fingers the number of Uchiha who had come to the same epiphany as Sasuke. He knew that the young Uchiha would never fall to the curse of hatred. The will of fire, said Kakashi softly, staring at Naruto. Naruto nodded, and his forest green eyes shone with a wisdom that stunned Kakashi and Sasuke. He turned to Sasuke, and said, "There is no excuse for killing. We shinobi do it as a matter of course, giving various justifications," he said in a weary voice. "But a garden cannot grow if the weeds are not pruned. It is only this belief that has sustained my sanity in both lives, Sasuke. I have tried to avoid killing as much as I could, only doing so in defense of my loved ones. But sometimes there is no choice. You must not let those demons dominate you." Sasuke and Kakashi sat silently, letting the words of the reborn first wash over them. Naruto continued. The sage of the six paths was a peaceable man, an enlightened man. He used chakra to aid humanity and to help it reach a new stage of bliss. But fools that we are, we used his gift and turned it into a weapon. Chakra was never meant to be a weapon originally. Minato-sensei once said the same thing, reminisced Kakashi. He said fire existed to give life, and not burn it. Water to nurture life and not drown it. Lightning to illuminate life and not vaporize it. Earth to beget life and not bury it, and wind to convey life, not to cut it. My father was a wise man, indeed, said Naruto softly. Sasuke seemed to be mulling over the fourth saying. He spoke the truth, Sasuke. You say you cannot use Sharingan to build? I remember my subordinate, Uchiha Kiyoshi, who used illusions of Sharingan to alleviate insanity. I remember Uchiha Ita, who used the Sharingan to learn painting to such an extent that it once made Mito shed tears openly, such was the pathos in his paintings. But I also remember Uchiha Madara, my best friend, who used a Sharingan to protect his kinsman from all harm. Silence enveloped the room at this. Naruto stretched in his bed, working out kinks calmly before he turned to Sasuke. Words cannot soothe regret, Sasuke. But perhaps actions can, and even better our own perspectives can, he said, before letting himself being taken by sleep. They had much to do in the morning, and he hoped he had brought some peace to the beguiled mind of the Uchiha. Good night, everyone, he murmured. The morning shone bright and crisp, shafts of sunlight penetrating the beautiful house Naruto had erected. The trilling of forest birds made the air even more salubrious than usual, but the air was darkened by the menacing nature of the discussions happening in the room of dining. Is guarded at all times by those sound ninja. The outer walls are reinforced heavily with earth, and it is held actively at all times by a dozen powerful Doton users. Orochimaru himself lives in a secret underground base and no one exactly knows where it is. Sasuke will need time to search the base, even with Sharingan, said Kakashi, calmly eating the fruit provided to them by Naruto. These apples are delicious, he added generously to Naruto, who grinned. Thank you. But coming back to the subject, I can overwhelm Doton users. But all our hopes rest in making Orochimaru frantic with our assault, so much so that he does not see through ours. He will sense my chakra the moment I am within sight of Ano. The last time I was there really scared him, I think, said Naruto. Kakashi considered deeply, but Sasuke spoke up first. Then flare your chakra. He will be so prepared for you that he won't see me coming, said Sasuke. Naruto could see his emotions had changed considerably. There seemed to be a somewhat lighter feel to his thoughts. No longer were Sasuke's thoughts riddled with their usual melancholy and sadness. His chakra felt warm and hopeful, not its usual forbidding cold. He felt happiness that he had ignited hope in an Uchiha. Turning to Sasuke, he replied. An excellent idea, Sasuke. As long as I am a diversion, let me be a proper one, he said. Kakashi looked at Sasuke and said firmly. If you encounter Orochimaru or Akatsuki, do not use Mangekyo Sharingan. If you do so, they might send Itachi against you. Even if he fights half seriously, Itachi can overwhelm you without even meaning to do so. I have no intention of fighting Itachi, said Naruto, bowing his head. In fact, the lesser we meet, the lesser our association will be suspected. So Kakashi is right, Sasuke. But I have faith enough in your abilities that you can easily complete this mission. I won't fail, said Sasuke with certainty. But if my sensei is threatened, I will not hesitate to use Mangekyo Sharingan. If things get too dangerous, I will also use Makuten, said Naruto reassuringly. Chances are that Akatsuki won't care anyway. I am Pain's equal at the very least, and he will never risk his real subordinates being wiped out by me. Kakashi here is also well versed with the Mangekyo. Together, the three of us are more than equal to this task, he said with conviction. I believe so as well, said Kakashi. Orochimaru is gathering force at Oto, however, and we would be wise not to dismiss them as the usual rabble. I agree, said Naruto. We must attack in the night, though. Most shinobi are less aware during the night. I say we make the move tonight. Sharingan can see through the dark, and this will give Sasuke an added advantage. My sensory skills care not whether or not it is light or dark. So do we leave now? Oto is quite a distance from this place, said Sasuke. Naruto nodded, standing up as he finished his berries. We leave now, and we make to Oto with as much speed as possible. Orochimaru needs plenty of warning for this plan to succeed. I will also have enough time to sense Oto defenses and shinobi, and that more than anything will give us a real edge in this mission. Hidan has been sent to Takigakure, their Jinchuriki has escaped from her prison, it seems. I have no doubt Hidan and Kakuzu can deal with that problem, said Itachi stoically. He stood in Akatsuki's sprawling base at Iwa, amazed as always at how an organization in the shadows had become such a real factor in the forging of the nations. Pain himself had erected the base when the Tsuchikage had refused to help them, literally shaping the huge structure out of the bare bones of the earth. The power of the Rinnegan had been evident then, as had the supremely augmented power of the Akatsuki leader. Perhaps of all the earth users, only the Tsuchikages or Hashirama could emulate or surpass that feat. Good, said Pain in his deep voice. Orochimaru is delaying. He is. I just think he wants more time to experiment with your creation. I have no idea why you have not destroyed him, said Itachi. The air rippled next to him, and spat out a black-robed man with an orange mask and a single Sharingan revealed. Because, said Toby, he is a valuable pawn, and possibly the only one who can understand how to shape that particular metal. As long as we threaten him properly, he will bend to our will. I am not so sure, said Itachi. He is as slippery as a snake, and about as deadly. I predict that his being alive will bring us little good. Already my Sharingan could see more traces of deception in his manner. Much more than usual, I mean. Perhaps I must go there and teach him a lesson, mused Pain absently. He has long delayed the delivery of my staff, and I cannot hear of it any longer. Or I can send Kisame. He has been raring to go after Orochimaru for quite some time now, ever since his blood sample was taken in his sleep. Itachi's mouth twitched at that. Orochimaru had stolen Kisame's blood as the shark-faced shinobi slept, and only the interference of Pain had stopped Kisame from turning Orochimaru into a decoration for Samada in retaliation. Kisame might go to the extreme, said Toby silkily. I do not want to alienate Orochimaru, only threaten him subtly. He is too important a resource to do so. I wish to capture the Ichibi as soon as possible. But if Naruto Uzumaki interferes, it will be a problem. Toby, can you just not steal into the place and get Ichibi, asked Pain. Toby chuckled. Ichibi is too powerful to ferry through interdimensional space. All that chakra is too heavy for any one man to carry, said Toby. Pain frowned. But do not worry, said Toby cheerfully. All we need to do is draw the Ichibi out. To do that we need to hold his siblings. For some reason they all come running for family, said the masked shinobi. Itachi kept his disdain hidden. One day soon he would take great pleasure in burning Toby slowly in the fires of Amaterasu. Problems, Itachi? Asked Toby jovially, but Itachi could see the wariness in the man. He shook his head. None, Toby. I only wonder at the fact that Uzumaki might again get involved. As Pain says, that might be an issue. Toby laughed darkly as his jutsu swallowed him up. That is the beauty of taking hostages, my dear Itachi. You get to demand whatever you want. Itachi was sickened by the man's callous disregard for the most fundamental aspects of life. Pain turned to him, his tall and powerful frame literally glowing with chakra to his Sharingan. I hear Uzumaki Mito has been revived. She has said Itachi, and felt a burst of true happiness at the fact. Naruto had done it once more, he had shown just who the Akatsuki were dealing with, not that they knew it. This fact more than any other had made Pain wary in his approach, for not even he was skilled enough to heal a person in such a state. Not even with all the vaunted powers of the Rinnegan. Then Akatsuki should be alerted to take care. We captured her through luck the last time, and a vengeful Mito Uzumaki will only add to our obstacles. 7, 8 and 9 said Naruto quietly to Sasuke and Kakashi, who were watching from the fringes of the forest as night fell and caught the now visible Otogakure in its gloom. 9 shinobi are constantly watching this sector. All of them are fire-natured, no doubt to take advantage of the combustible nature of the forest. His eyes narrowed slightly. He did not like people harming trees, and not just for the obvious reasons. He looked at Kakashi as the Jounin stood perfectly still in the falling dusk, evaluating their rough plan and thinking of changes. This makes it imperative that we attack first, Naruto concluded Kakashi. Or else, Sasuke can never make it in. Do we invade the city, or do we fight from without? He asked. Naruto frowned. That was a good question. If they went in, there would be problems with attracting the brunt of the Auto Shinobi. But it would definitely cause more confusion. To begin with, we attack from outside. Once there is enough confusion, we force our way in and act as backup for Sasuke if necessary, said Naruto firmly. Kakashi nodded, and Sasuke said solemnly, "Thank you for your help. I do not care who you are, but thank you. I will not forget how you pulled me out of madness, healed my eyes and body, and now this," said Sasuke gratefully. Naruto just slapped him on the back comradely, causing his knees to buckle. Sasuke glared at him for a moment, then rolled his eyes. "Shall we begin?" asked Naruto with gleaming eyes. Kakashi nodded, and they rushed through the forest towards Otogakure with rapid shunshines. Naruto could feel Sasuke take cover at the edge of the forest, and as he turned back he could see nothing of the Uchiha. He could only sense him. Orochimaru has really bolstered the defenses of his city, hasn't he? Observed Kakashi. Naruto could only agree as he saw the high walls of Otogakure, and extended his senses to them. He was thoroughly impressed by the workmanship of the wall. "He has," said Naruto, not bothering to whisper. He could see the attention of the shinobi patrols shift towards his voice, and he nodded to Kakashi. "Shall we give them more signals? They seem to be rather dull on picking up on the voice and intent of enemies," he grinned. Kakashi nodded, and began to flare his chakra and killer intent. Shouts began to go up around the village, rending the night with its urgent urges. A bell began to toll in the village and Naruto could hear the frantic milling of shinobi, urgent to get to their location. They had placed themselves neatly in front of the south gate of Oto as Naruto had sensed a good concentration of the patrols in that direction. Within seconds, 30 shinobi had surrounded them completely and a tall man had drawn a sword, pointing it balefully at Kakashi. "Hatake Kakashi. You will not survive your arrogance," he stated. Naruto smirked as he saw Kakashi blur into action, mercilessly cutting down the offenders. No matter what jutsu they shot at Kakashi, they did not even put a scratch on him. As the sounds of metal cutting through flesh rang through the night, he stared up at the tall walls of Orochimaru's village. He could certainly blast the gates open, and simply lay into the village. But that would not be a real distraction. He glanced at Kakashi, who effortlessly dodged the onslaught of 3 blurring swords and disappeared with a shunshine. A moment later, 3 opponents lay dead in the grass with shurikens embedded in their backs. "Just eliminate them. That Sharingan fellow is taking far too long," grumbled Kurama in his mind. Naruto said nothing, only watching as Kakashi dealt with the remaining 10 Uknin, using the Sharingan to effortlessly dodge their strikes. One man seemed to suddenly observe him, and shouted to his fellows. Naruto sighed as 5 seemed to split off from Kakashi, and rushed towards him. They were simply annoyances and he had an entire city to assault. As a katana flashed towards him in the hands of a yelling shinobi, he seemed to fade into the night. Using his sensory skill, he disappeared in 5 perfect shunshine to incapacitate his opponents with accurate strikes to their vital points. As he looked around the prone bodies of their first victims, he saw Kakashi appear at his side. "Do we begin?" "Yes, the clamor in the village is increasing. They know someone is invading them, but not much else," he said, pointing to the fully shut south gate. He could sense the exigency of the entire village. There was no more time to be lost, for he had to get all the attention on himself if Sasuke were to have a chance. Everyone on the village would have to be focused upon him, including Orochimaru and all the other Akatsuki present. He could sense several chakras massed behind the gate, and knew that they would attack any moment soon. "Kakashi, you were in the Anbu?" "Yes." "Then you were highly trained in the katana, correct?" he asked intently as he drew his own sword from its sheath on his back. He had deliberately worn a long white cloak with the Senju Trident symbol painted on its back. Jiraiya had told him that he was the spitting image of Namikaze Minato. He was sure that it was Yondaime Hokage himself come back to life. "I am," said Kakashi, his eyes gleaming as he too drew his sword. It was a concession the copy ninja had made upon Naruto's request, for it was far easier to deal with multiple enemies when a real sword was used. The gates suddenly burst open and dozens of shinobi poured forth from it towards them, pausing dead as they saw no army. They saw only two men. Naruto nodded to Kakashi, and they began to walk forward impassively. The enemy shinobi buckled slightly, visibly trying to throw off the force of his mighty chakra as a nimbus of silver surrounded him and made him glow slightly in the night. He could feel Sasuke waiting anxiously for the chaos, and quickened his steps into a run. The masked shinobi in front of him broke into a run as well, drawing their weapons in a massive dirge of steel. In an instant he had covered the distance between them, leaving Kakashi behind him as he threw himself into the oncoming ninja faster than they could react to. Multiple swords slashed at him from all directions, but he parried each and every one of them, returning deadly blows. His speed was phenomenal as his enemies seemed to simply die as his sword rose and fell faster than they could react. He could see Kakashi rushing the ones behind him, and was sorely disappointed with how weak the ninja of today had become. A barrage of kunai flew towards him and he effortlessly dodged each and every one, allowing his sensory skills to guide him in evading the chakra-imbued weapons. He caught a shinobi who attacked him from behind by his arm, and kicked him back with such force that he collided with three others painfully and smashed into the wall of auto. He disappeared once more in a burst of speed, and simply clove through the masked shinobi like a hot knife through butter. What happened to these people? He thought with surprise as he cut his way single-handedly to the gates of auto. Is this some sort of trap? No, idiot. This is the effect of that piece you forced down their throats. They have become fat and lazy, nothing compared to the ninja of old. That was probably true, he thought as he incapacitated 10 shinobi by simply touching their vital points. He was not even trying. He began to feel bad about the entire affair as he simply picked up an offender by his neck and threw him like a rag doll into the wall. He was standing in the center of what was probably all the force of Otto, not at all concerned as he countered multiple attacks effortlessly. Ah! He heard a shout from behind him. He could see Kakashi standing with a cut in his shoulder, streaming blood. Oh, he is going to massacre them, he thought grimly and was proved right as Kakashi flashed through his seals and shouted, "Chidori!" The night was lit by Kakashi's lightning, and Naruto watched as Kakashi cut down every ninja in his way, and waved as the copy ninja made his way to him through the auto ninja. "How are you not tired?" asked Kakashi, panting slightly. He had killed more shinobi than he could count and was quite tired, thanks to that Sharingan. It was useful but it leached too much chakra from his body. Naruto steadied him and he felt vitality flow from the golden-haired ninja into him, and he felt himself standing straighter. "I am a Senju and Uzumaki, Kakashi. My physical energy is not trivial," he said, looking around disappointedly as the auto shinobi poured on them from all sides with an incoherent yell. "I think I have played around enough. I hate to say it, but these shinobi are not worth my time. There is something I have wanted to try for some time now." He clasped his hands in the ox seal, and Kakashi's eyes widened as Naruto flashed through dozens of seals in a matter of an instant. He seemed to be molding chakra with great difficulty, literally forcing it into shape. Katen. Fire? Was not the Shodai traditionally weak in fire affinity? Kakashi had no answer as Naruto shouted, "Gukamekiyaku!" The night turned bright as the day when waves upon waves of fire flowered out from Naruto's position, literally frying all the ninja who were outside the gates. The fire was so immense that it actually poured into Otogakure from above the walls, and Kakashi could only watch dumbfounded as the offending shinobi were literally vaporized by the intensity of the fire, and he saw Otogakure being set ablaze by the monstrous flames. Naruto did not relent in his attack as he spewed blazing fire that seemed to cleanse the surroundings of Oto of every shinobi except them. Otogakure was now surrounded by a huge ring of blazing fire that towered above even their walls, sometimes pouring inside to cause confusion and death. "What was that?" he asked shakily, as Naruto let go of his jutsu, panting. The destruction was nearly absolute as he saw no traces of life anywhere around the village, and heard cries of fear inside it. Naruto seemed to be winded as he turned to Kakashi with a satisfied smile. "I tried to imitate my old friend, and failed. Fire chakra is very hard to control," he said as he looked around at the fire-ridden landscape. Kakashi nearly doubled over. Failed? I think you succeeded well enough, he said as Otogakure seemed to bar their gates firmly. Kakashi saw sealing jutsu take effect on the walls and gates, and saw with his Sharingan a huge barrier take shape over the village. It would be very hard to force their way in now, for they had gone on the defensive after Naruto's attack. Madara would have melted the walls with this technique and could do it in one seal. I did not even come close to his prowess. Ah well, my affinity is not fire. And I did take 2 years to perfect this technique, he said disappointedly. Then he brightened considerably. I did take care of our attackers well, did I not? Did you feel Sasuke slip in? He asked happily. Kakashi nodded. But we need to get in as well. Otto is sealed up so no one can get in or out now. That fire technique of yours really frightened them, I guess, said Kakashi dryly, watching the devastation of Naruto's failed technique. He definitely did not want to be on the other end of Naruto's successful ones. Oh, don't worry about that, said Naruto smilingly. He did not seem bothered in the least as he lifted his hand with palm facing upwards. Their seals are very strong, but I wonder if they can stand up to this. To his eyes, a kind of Rasengan seemed to materialize into Naruto's hand with a sound like a whistle. The sound was so keen and sharp that he winced, and his mouth fell open as he saw what Naruto was holding in his hand. It was a shuriken-shaped Rasengan with enormous amounts of wind imbued in it. The chakra shuriken was huge, and it seemed to literally sing as it grew in size. He completed the Rasengan? Thought Kakashi, feeling nothing new from Naruto would surprise him anymore. Futon, Rasen Shuriken, yelled Naruto as he threw the jutsu at the walls of Otto. Kakashi watched as the three-bladed Rasen Shuriken cut through the air faster than he could believe, but he could also see the highly reinforced walls of Otto. He must have a wind nature in this life, concluded the copy ninja as the Rasen Shuriken met the walls with an explosive report. The fire from the previous technique was thrown into frenzy as it whipped around the large explosion created by the Rasen Shuriken. He covered his eyes for a moment as the light and fire grew too bright, and opened them a moment later. Naruto grinned at him as he pointed to the section of wall that had been destroyed completely. Shall we visit dear old Orochimaru, Kakashi? Sasuke cleanly slipped in with the shinobi Naruto was destroying by the dozen, his highly honed stealth allowing him to blend in effortlessly with the Oto shinobi. He saw Naruto simply killing the Oto shinobi, it was as if he were not even trying. So this is Hashirama Senju, he thought with awe. The physical strength was nothing short of stunning, he thought, as he cleverly stayed out of Naruto's way. All they did was die at Naruto's hands as the reborn Shodai ripped through their ranks easily. He saw Kakashi throw off his attackers with a Chidori, and join Naruto. A shinobi behind him pushed, and Sasuke elbowed him in the gut. He fell gasping and the Uchiha slipped through the ranks and into the gate, roughing his way through several suicidal shinobi. He felt a rising chakra behind him and was just in front of the gate as he saw Naruto shout, "Kaden, Gukamekiyaku." He had no time to be surprised as his vision was consumed by white-hot fire. The purple skeleton of Susanoo protected him from the dangerous and immense flames, and he saw every shinobi outside the gates die along with the gatekeepers. This is my chance. He disappeared with a shunshine and just cleared the closing gates, appearing within Otogakure. Sighing in relief, he substituted his Konoha Hitai-8 with an Oto 1 and began to search around the gloomy village. He would hardly be out of place as Naruto's attack had put the entire village on the burner, quite literally. Smirking at his own sense of humor, Sasuke ran through the streets, using the Sharingan to search for familiar chakras. He could see powerful seals being activated to bolster the defense, but he was not concerned. Naruto was who he was, after all. Sure enough, the village shook violently, and when he glanced back he saw a huge hole in the walls. Following the most malicious chakra he was sure belonged to Orochimaru, he ran towards the base as fast as he could. Otto reflected Orochimaru's personality, thought Sasuke as he observed the gloomy fear that pervaded the village. Truly, it was not a village in the real sense of the word, but it was a large garrison. His Sharingan could see the concealed entrance in the ground, and made towards it. "Halt! What business do you have here now?" came the voice of two guards. Sasuke turned and observed them. They seemed to be Jounin level guards of some sort. Their presence only confirmed his suspicions. He did not hesitate as his eyes morphed into Mangekyo. Amaterasu. The heavenly black flames fell upon the hapless shinobi, a technique that was far beyond their ability to counter. He knew they would be ashes soon enough. Slowly approaching the concealed trapdoor, he began to consider as to how to open it. He ground his teeth in frustration as no solution seemed to hit him. This was supposed to be a clandestine mission. He had to keep as low a profile as possible. His heart clenched as he heard a long drawn-out scream of pain from within the base. He did not want to know what it meant, for he recognized the voice well. The purple flames of Susanoo materialized and formed the skeletal warrior, and raised its sword high in the air. With an enraged yell, Sasuke caused it to cleave the very earth he stood upon into pieces and landed amongst large quantities of rubble. One look around the overly clean and dimly lit place told him where he was, along with another pain-filled scream from his captive sensei. He was here. The hatred of the Uchiha that burnt in his soul flared, and he ran towards the sound of the screams. Those screams were muted by the sounds of the ensuing battle outside, and he saw the entire village falling into a state of upheaval. Soon enough he could hear only the sounds of powerful jutsu and dying auto shinobi. If it was the last thing he did, he would make Orochimaru pay for his actions. Auto shinobi were dying, dropping dead like useless flies. The wide main street was clearly divided. On one side there was a veritable army of shinobi trying to rush forward and defend their village, but they were only driven back, taking dreadful casualties. Uzumaki Naruto was tearing through their ranks as he countered every move effortlessly, retaliating with lightning-quick and fatal blows. His long golden hair whipped around as he cut through 7 Chunin rapidly, seeming like a blur even to trained jounin. Still they came upon him, almost hawing him with their stubborn suicidal nature. He was not even breathing hard as he effortlessly kicked away another shinobi, so hard that he was flung through another platoon of enemies, taking them with him as he smashed into a house. Kakashi had already resorted to ninjutsu, and Naruto could see flashes of lightning and fire a few streets to his left. He could feel the copy ninja's life force as strong as ever, and knew that he was in no real danger. "Who are you?" shouted Minato Jounin as he led a new group of shinobi. Naruto closed his eyes as he felt another 3 surround him, hiding in alleys and cleverly concealing themselves behind houses. His sensing had developed to such an extent that he could even tell the composition of a jutsu by just feeling it. These poor fools could not really hide from him. "Who I am does not matter," he said calmly, and he sheathed his sword disappointedly. "Are you truly all that Orochimaru has to offer? Is this what Akatsuki has been doing all this time? If that is the case, I must say I am sorely disappointed." "Fool, you will die for attacking us so," shouted the shinobi angrily. "We will show you the consequences of attacking our village so brazenly. Everyone, change to level 1. He ordered loudly, and Naruto could feel a familiar evil chakra shroud the entire street. Markings were coating the skin of all the shinobi, and he sighed as he realized that he now faced about 40 shinobi who used the cursed seal. "Pathetic, just pathetic," said Kurama derisively in his mind. Naruto had to agree upon that point. He could even sense a corrupted form of senjutsu coming off those seals. The earth shook for a moment, and his eyes widened as he sensed Susanoo being used. He needed to end this fast and go to help Sasuke if he needed it. "You do not know who I am," he warned quietly. "Leave now. Those weak seals of yours won't really help you." A foul purple shroud of chakra covered the street, and its malicious essence seemed to force itself on Naruto. He smiled grimly, and disappeared with a sigh. The loudmouthed shinobi swung at him confidently, but he caught the arm with his palm and looked at it critically. "You are a bit stronger than before, but not really by much," he observed. As the other curse-sealed ninja dashed towards him, he flung the one he had stalled towards them. This time he flowed into the nature style, catching punches effortlessly and returning fatal blows. It was continuous, like the flow of wind over a forest, like the flow of water into an ocean. He flowed through the massive shinobi, and they were flung all over the village by the force of his daijutsu. "Use Makuten and be done with it. Or at least let me out. This game of yours is really boring, you know," complained the Kyuubi. Naruto rolled his eyes as he caught a kunai aimed at his head without even looking and tossed it back at its owner. The abrupt fading of life force told him that it had found its mark. "They are running away from me now. Finally they get the point," mused Naruto as he felt the shinobi of the village retreat from him and felt several large groups of them cluster in different locations around the village. Maybe they were making up a new plan to attack him. But they are not what I would want Konoha shinobi to be. Their courage and devotion is not exactly what I would call astounding. They are nuke nin, you moron. Wearing an auto hitai does not make them auto shinobi. Their first loyalty is to themselves," said Kurama disdainfully. "I can feel evil emanating from that ground under there. It could even be that Rikudo cursed Susanoo. I hate that thing." He could feel Kakashi approaching him rapidly, and began to walk towards where he felt Sasuke's chakra. No one attacked him for the moment, but he could feel apprehension and suspense cloud over the entire village. "You are telling me, Fox, I had to fight that thing more than I care to remember, said Naruto dryly as he walked faster towards Sasuke's location with senses at full strength. It would not do for him to shine into one of Orochimaru's traps. They seem to be rather afraid of you, came a lazy voice from behind him. Naruto turned and found Kakashi cleaning his katana and sheathing it slowly. He could also see bodies of about 200 ninjas strewn around like crops devastated by a tornado. I guess my strength has increased greatly in these past 3 years, admitted Naruto. The trail of destruction he had left behind was not as much as Madara would have done. His old friend was just naturally destructive when it came to battles. But then again, he was not deliberately destructive like Madara used to be. Tell that all you want to yourself, snorted Kurama. I remember the time you released all 9 of us onto that village that ordered your daughter's death. You left no one alive there as far as I can remember. It was just a large crater in the ground after you were done with it. It was one of my darker moments, sighed Naruto and cast those thoughts away as he cleared his mind. The past was not real, at least that was what he kept telling himself. Every time he thought that, Kurama would laugh at him in merriment. Here he was, denying the past willfully, when he himself was a legend of the past come back from the pure world. Are you alright? Questioned Kakashi gently, seeing that he was somewhat troubled. Naruto nodded. There was little time for psychological soothsaying at the moment. Those foolish shinobi might attack any moment now. That would be detrimental to the plan. I am fine, said Naruto. I can feel several clusters of opponents skulking around in various areas of the village. Our job is over. Sasuke is inside Orochimaru's base. Is there any point to our distraction anymore? Yes, said Kakashi. The longer we keep them off Sasuke's back, the easier a time he will have. Unless he encounters Orochimaru, of course, he said with a frown. Naruto looked at Kakashi, a simple plan forming in his head. Let us take this distraction one step further, then he said, as he raised his hand in the tiger seal. We make enough noise that Orochimaru himself will come running here. Then I deal with that snake and his subordinates here and now. We finish our mission and go back to Konoha, he proposed proudly. Good plan. Except if pain comes, you will turn this fight into another natural disaster. Do not forget that even he has had 3 years to hone his skills, and that Itachi will accompany him as well. The outcome of that fight will not matter very much if you level several kilometers of the surrounding fertile area, said the Kyuubi seriously. By the looks of it, even Kakashi had come to the same conclusion. After a moment of doubt, he had made his decision. This is a gamble we have to take. If pain comes, I will think of something, he finished lamely. Kakashi nodded disbelievingly at his reassuring reply, but did not stop him as he gently laid his hand on the earth. Doton, Jimin Karade Nashi, he intoned, and the village shuddered as its foundations shook violently. The buildings crumbled despairingly as what would be termed a lethal earthquake rocked the village. Several weakly built dwellings collapsed in a heap as Naruto unleashed destruction upon Uragakure. Screams of disgruntled shinobi were drowned by the noise of the breaking earth. He was careful enough not to extend his jutsu to Orochimaru's base, where he could feel Sasuke's life force. But then, another voice yelled out a counter technique behind him, its voice ringing out in the village. Doton, Anti-I no Koa. He released his jutsu immediately and the remaining tremors were quieted down by the intruder's technique. It seemed that his plan had worked quite well, and had drawn out the snake Sannin from his hidey hole, as Tsunade had put it. Orochimaru stared at him with absolute anger, and Naruto cracked his neck as he stared at the S-class Nukenin. Hello, Orochimaru. I seem to be making a habit of razing your village to the ground, greeted Naruto cheerfully. Kakashi looked at him with a resigned expression, figuring that he was one of the very few who could taunt Orochimaru so openly and get away with it. Naruto-kun, hissed the snake Sannin, his long and very wet tongue dripping snake saliva as he licked some non-existent thing. I have no idea how you can do the same futile thing repeatedly and fail to achieve your goal. If I were the one assaulting Konoha, then I would have finished it by now. Can you please make up your mind about my village? Oh, I have made up my mind, said Naruto. Your village is irrelevant to me. I can destroy it any day I want, as you well know. I want something else, something far more important than the destruction of one of your bases. Ah, murmured Orochimaru. Sasuke-kun is here for her? I see. It is all going as planned. What plan? Asked Kakashi lazily, but both his eyes were watching Orochimaru quite alertly. Orochimaru chuckled creepily, and Naruto raised his brow. You can stop chuckling so creepily, Orochimaru. I believe that your forces are all dispersing like the cowards that they are. Worry about that. By the way, he said, not sounding sorry at all. Orochimaru did not even seem remotely concerned that his village built with such painstaking effort was being reduced to nothing more than an overturned anthill. "They have served their purpose," said the Sannin dismissively. Then he looked out again, looking hungrily at Naruto. "I can feel your physical energy, Naruto-kun. I have always wanted to ask you, how did you get that body of yours?" Naruto looked confused at this question. "The usual way, I'd assume." "Quit staring at me like that, Orochimaru," he snapped at the snake Sannin. Orochimaru shook his head, still chuckling. "You remind me of Jiraiya, right down to his idiocy and incompetence. Did you know that your precious Sasuke-kun is currently fighting Akatsuki? I hope you are familiar with a certain Hoshigaki Kisame. You are not going to take that, are you? I would ask you to save yourself a lot of trouble and just kill that creep. But you are bent on honoring that pervert's wish, aren't you?" "True," concurred Naruto. "Orochimaru, thank you for your information. I will now go and help Sasuke after I leave you to bite the dust," he said kindly. He glanced at Kakashi, who disappeared with a nod. "Kisame is no one Kakashi can take on and win, Naruto-kun," said Orochimaru. "I fear you will be losing two on your side today." "There is certainly no way I will let you go past me now," he stated, and Naruto was appalled to see that he was only playing. As the Shodai Hokage, such wanton evil was beyond his understanding. He did not understand how one could throw away their subordinates so easily. "Yamada no Jutsu," said Orochimaru with a ram seal. Naruto stared as the snake Sannin morphed into a large white mass, which then transmuted into a huge abomination. Orochimaru had turned himself into an 8-headed snake that towered high in the air. If he were to make a guess, he would say it was as big as Shukaku. Orochimaru's strange chakra seemed to literally leak off the massive snakes, and he could feel the remaining shinobi of Otogakure leave the village discreetly. "Not wasting much time, huh?" he said, looking at the huge snake whose centermost head seemed to open with a huge hiss, and he saw Orochimaru slither out partially and stare at him gloatingly. This was getting a little out of hand, and he could feel flickers of the chakra of Samada below him. He had expected Orochimaru to slither away like a snake, not fight like one. He stared impassively at the massive snakes. Unless he wanted to bury Sasuke and Kakashi under a mountain of debris, he could not simply defeat it with Makuten. Until their mission was complete, he had to keep up with this jutsu. "I need to fight it cleverly, without causing much damage to the earth. Once they are done with their mission, I will defeat Orochimaru." "Makuten, Moku Bunshin no Jutsu," he said, and one wood clone was born out of him and rushed out in towards Kakashi. He had to find Sasuke and Kakashi and help them along how he could. He jumped high into the air to avoid being crushed by the flailing body of a massive snake and ran up its length rapidly. Another snake rushed at him, and another. He dodged them all with little trouble, using their convoluted lengths to stymie their attacks. The main snake with Orochimaru been stationary, and the snake Sannin scowled as Naruto skillfully dodged the crush attempts of 7 massive white snakes. Otogakure shook at the intensity of the battle, and Naruto became more concerned about the ground's stability. "Is running around all you can do, Naruto-kun?" asked Orochimaru sarcastically as his 7 snakes devastated Oto completely in their attack. Naruto flashed back to an older era in his mind, hearing the same thing as he dodged a succession of dangerous Bijodama from the Kyuubi. He once again heard Madara's voice shouting at him with derision. "Is running around all you can do, Hashirama?" How he itched to enter his sage mode and crush Oto into oblivion along with Orochimaru. "Hurry up, Sasuke, Kakashi," he thought grimly as he jumped high into the air using a snake's head as leverage. Twisting in the air, he brought down a hammer kick upon the main snake with all his considerable physical energy. The huge snake bit the dust with an explosive report. It then reared up angrily, and he felt Orochimaru's strange chakra permeate the air once more as all the 8 snakes stared at him balefully. "Earth dragons will not work against this thing," thought Naruto grimly. A nimbus of bright silver chakra surrounded his form as he readied himself for a constrained battle. "The moment they are finished, I will deal properly with Orochimaru." Sasuke rushed through the labyrinthine and irritating passageways of Orochimaru, paying little attention to where he was going as long as he ran towards Uegao-sensei's tortured screams. He feared what he would find, what tortures Orochimaru had subjected her to. After Naruto had left with Jiraiya, only she and Kakashi had taken up responsibility to train him, teaching him more than just jutsu. He could not see her dead or harmed. She might be Anbu, but it was she who had made him begin to question the purpose of their strife-filled lives. She was only 3 years older than him, but she was Anbu already. The Uzuki clan was rumored to be great masters of Kenjutsu, supposedly descended from the great samurai swordsman. She had taught him many things with the sword and they had together shared life and death in many missions. His fist tightened and his Mangekyo Sharingan shone an angry red as he raced through Orochimaru's ridiculously convoluted base. As he rushed around a corner, a blurring object with small spikes came rushing at his head and only his supremely trained Sharingan allowed him to evade the fatal blow. His mastery of Sharingan was perhaps not as absolute as his brother's. He did not think he would ever reach Itachi's simply stunning skill with his eyes, but it was high nevertheless. He kicked out with strength, but was stopped cleanly by a firm hand. He disappeared with a sunshine only to appear a few paces away from the opponent, both of them facing each other in the dimly lit passage. Sasuke's eyes widened as he recognized Hoshigaki Kisame staring at him with his customary playfulness, and had to consciously suppress his frustration. "Give way, Kisame. I have little time to fight with you," he snarled in a low voice. Kisame chuckled as he held Saimata menacingly towards him, and Sasuke beheld the absolutely enormous chakra reserves of the ninja. It far surpassed his chakra. This would be a close fight indeed. "Look what I found," said Kisame with relish. "Itachi-san's younger brother, You have the same eyes as him right down to the Mangekyo form. I always wanted to try my hand against those eyes," he said musingly. Sasuke did not hesitate. His hands blurred through several seals, and he roared, "Katen, Gukakyu no Jutsu." A huge fireball blasted towards Kisame, who negligently batted it away with a wave of water. Sasuke disappeared with a sunshine, appearing behind Kisame and thrust his katana at his back with blinding speed. He swore softly as the impaled Kisame dissolved into a water clone, the real one laughing behind him. "Not bad, I had just enough time for the clone. You are very fast with that sunshine," he praised. Sasuke disappeared once more, using all his skill with the sunshine as he seemed to attack Kisame from all sides. Kisame frowned as he concentrated, skillfully parrying what seemed not like one sword but 10 attacking him at once. The air seemed to scream as the two Kenjutsu masters swung their swords blurringly, Kisame's experience holding easily against Sasuke's speed. Saimata did not seem to constrain Kisame at all as he swung the huge sword around as a child might swing a reed, meeting each and every one of his swings effortlessly. He slipped under Saimata as Kisame swung, and instead of taking the opening he feinted and appeared behind the shark man. Kisame gasped as Sasuke buried his sword in Kisame's shoulder and blood poured down the Akatsuki's back. Kisame roared with rage as Sasuke drew his sword back for a final blow. His wound was beginning to close slowly, and Sasuke evaded his angry slash with a skillful body flicker to appear behind him. Kisame turned to the Uchiha with an unholy anger on his face. "Suten, Bakaswishoha," he shouted, and waves upon waves of water seemed to surge towards Sasuke forcefully. In that confined space he had no escape, no maneuver that would help him. As he floated in the flooded corridor, his eyes widened as chakra sharks drifted towards him dangerously. There were about a dozen of them. His heart constricted as he heard a final desperate scream from the chambers ahead of him. Then her voice went still. The sharks seemed ready to tear him apart when Sasuke's Mangekyo shone red, and the Uchiha yelled, "Amaterasu!" Black fire exploded from the Uchiha in raging torrents, and Kisame shouted in alarm as his water was simply evaporated along with his sharks. The heavenly flames could not be denied, not by the pitiful jutsu humans could create. Not by the ordinary forces of nature. Sasuke screamed as his eyes hurt him, but sent walls upon walls of Amaterasu in all directions and felt the water vaporize along with that section of the base. The walls simply melted into slag where the flames hit them, and Kisame yelled in unmistakable pain as the black flames buried him. Sasuke slowly let go of his Mangekyo as he saw Kisame burning limply in his flames, glancing around at the devastated passageway. He was several levels down, so he did not think the entire structure would be stabilized. He walked up to Kisame and nudged his body with a foot. "These eyes are not something that can be defeated," he murmured, and shot forward. But he was stopped dead as he heard an enthusiastic clapping from behind him, and his eyes widened as he saw a very healthy-looking Kisame applaud him. "How the... Saimata is not just some sword, Sasuke-san," said Kisame. "I admit, if it were not for Saimata I would have most likely died today. Now the real fight begins," he shouted as he hefted his huge sword. Sasuke spat, his eyes morphing back. His anger knew no bounds as he observed the frustrating Kisame. "You are dead," he said in an emotionless voice, and the purple skeleton of Susanoo began to cover him and the mythical warrior came into shape. His skeletal defender encased him completely and held two swords of purple chakra as Sasuke glared at his enemy. "Susanoo?" whispered Kisame in absolute surprise. "You really are Itachi's little brother, Sasuke-san." It will be a pity to kill you, you know, he said mournfully. Before Sasuke could make a single move, he saw Kakashi and Naruto appear behind Kisame. Let the jutsu go, Sasuke said Kakashi briskly. And go find her. We will take care of him from here. Sasuke immediately let it dissipate, and looked at them with surprise. Naruto looked at Kisame blankly. How many times should I defeat you? Haven't you had enough? He asked calmly. Kisame laughed. You idiotic clone. I can smell your diminished chakra quite easily from here. Uzumaki Naruto, do you think you can kill me with only that much chakra? He asked laughingly. Naruto stared back and a shroud of red chakra surrounded him. Kakashi held out his hand, and Reikiri crackled up his palm in a blinding shaft as they both faced Kisame. I am a Jinchuriki, you stupid fish. I defeated you with a clone the last time. I can do it now as well, said Naruto's clone as they dashed forward to meet Kisame with a thunderous sound. Kisame snarled as he countered the attacks of both Naruto's clone and Kakashi at the same time. Go, shouted Naruto's clone, and Sasuke nodded as he shot off towards the chamber he had pinpointed. He cut down mercilessly the few shinobi who were guarding the place, and came to a set of stairs that led down to a room. In an instant, he was at the door and kicked it open. The sight that met his eyes would have driven anyone mad, but he had seen Orochimaru's bases before. The earth outside shook violently, but Sasuke paid no attention as he took in the sight of shinobi who had been used in inconceivably cruel ways. He looked away as he saw Yuagao's Anbu team upon various tables with several seals inscribed upon them. Even without Sharingan he knew they were dead. A cold pit of fear formed in his chest as he looked at a table with Yuagao lying in it. She seemed to breathing slowly, but a man was standing over her, scratching something on a pad. The lab was silent as Sasuke approached warily, and the man looked up. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as he recognized Kabuto, and Orochimaru's subordinate smiled welcomingly as he saw Sasuke standing opposite him. Ah, Sasuke-kun, he said cheerfully. Nice of you to join us. Your sensei here has made for some truly delightful experiment material, he said happily, as he pointed to a heavily breathing Yuagao. Truly, she has pulled our efforts up by leaps and bounds. Tell her she will have my gratitude when she wakes up. What have you done to her? Ground out Sasuke in a rage-filled voice as he stared at the prone form of his sensei. Kabuto chuckled, his glasses glinting softly as he adjusted them to stare better at Sasuke. Ah, that is the question, said the medic gleefully. Simply putting it, we embedded in her a shard of metal and are observing the effects. It is a fascinating process. Sasuke sighed in relief. That was something Naruto would be able to heal easily. He had literally brought his wife back from death's door, and this was child's play in comparison. Kabuto shook his head, as his laugh escalated to maniacal levels. You are thinking about Naruto-kun, aren't you? He asked derisively. It won't be easy, Sasuke-kun. I pride myself on accurate work. This particular experiment cannot be undone as easily as you think. We'll see, said Sasuke, as the purple skeleton of Susanoo came into being once more around him. Kabuto's eyes widened in alarm as the spectral warrior raised his sword high in the air. It is time for you to die, growled Sasuke. I am no fool, said Kabuto as he stared at the Susanoo with fascination. I know at the moment that you are beyond me. See you later, Sasuke-kun, he said smilingly, and stabbed himself in the gut with a kunai. Sasuke watched with wide eyes as Kabuto fell forward, his face changing to one of some other nameless Ado shinobi. The air was displaced slightly as Naruto and Kakashi came in panting. Sasuke nodded at them as he let Susanoo go, and appeared in front of Yuagao's table. With a sharp movement he had gathered her, also listening to Naruto's clone as he stated. My original is battling with that disgusting snake. I am near to dissipating, I am afraid. The battle with Kisame has taken up all my chakra, said the clone urgently. Our mission is accomplished. We have retrieved what Anbu are alive, and unfortunately that is only Yuagao Uzuki. Original cannot unleash real strength until we are outside this base. So there is no time, said Kakashi as he stared at Sasuke who was trying to revive Yuagao. Sasuke, we must leave. We have the greatest healer ever born on our side, stop worrying about her for now. Let's go. The clone dissipated into the ground, and Sasuke and Kakashi disappeared with shunshines, dashing through the maze-like structure as fast as they could. They could hear the screech of some dying animal above them as sand fell from the ceiling of the shaking base. Faster, murmured Kakashi as they dashed through the now collapsing base. Naruto and Orochimaru were battling far too violently for them to remain in a safe position. They had to get out fast. He had killed each snake several times, but they seemed to regenerate every time he damaged it. He had cut off their heads with Rasen Shuriken, slammed it to the earth with Odama Rasengan and literally pounded every inch of the monster to the ground. The wrecked village of Oto stood in testament to that fact. As he stood upon a roof, he saw Orochimaru's annoying snakes hiss at him. Objectively, he could only admire the technique. He could respect Orochimaru's tenacity, it was literally like his own. In fact, in Orochimaru's body he could sense a good amount of his own life force. No doubt that added a considerable increase in the Sannin's abilities. "I must say, this man is just strange," commented the QB offhandedly. "That jutsu, I have never seen anything like it in all my years. Did you notice that this Orochimaru guy is also a sage? He is using Shinjutsu to keep up this technique." "I noticed it," said Naruto. He was not really tired, but the battle was really frustrating him. "Those snakes, they are really annoying me. Only if Itachi were here, that Katsuka sword would have sealed up Orochimaru with a lot less fuss. Irritating, isn't it? This thing seems to regenerate no matter what. You need something powerful to deal with it. Either I fire Baijodama on it, or I use Makuten," finished Naruto as he felt a familiar sensation. He closed his eyes as he felt the knowledge of his wood clone coming back to him. "Kurama, they are done with the mission," he said with relief coloring his tone. "Kisame has fled for some reason, and they have the Uzuki. They should be out in a few seconds. Then let us show this useless excuse of a snake what it means to face the Kyuubi and the Shodai Hokage at the same time," growled Kurama menacingly. Naruto grinned as he felt Kakashi, Sasuke and another chakra approach rapidly. His ability with Makuten had increased vastly after his long sabbatical from Konoha, and he felt himself inching closer to what he had been during the height of his power. He calmed himself, and held out his palm towards the 8 snakes headed at him, plundering and savaging through the remains of the city. His relief only increased as he felt his teammates' chakra out in the open, and shouted, "Makuten, Mokuryu no Jutsu." The village shook as the wood dragon rushed out of the ground, roaring its mighty roar as it intercepted the onrushing white snakes. It circled over the monstrous beasts fluently, trapping them securely in its coil. Naruto grinned as he caused the wood dragon to tighten its hold even more and saw Orochimaru trying to release his technique. He dropped down to the ground and rushed through the wrecked village towards the trapped monster snakes. The snakes had stopped struggling as the wood dragon rapidly leached the chakra of its prey, falling uselessly to the ground even as Orochimaru struggled within the mouth of the controlling snake. Naruto stood before the massive spectacle, watching with a grin as Orochimaru continued his futile efforts to escape. He was quite proud of his technique as he could feel the power of the dragon. He glanced high as Orochimaru grew still, electing to examine the huge dragon that had so effectively stopped his snakes. "It's over," Orochimaru said Naruto loudly. "You cannot release your technique when the dragon is actively draining chakra from you. You have caused enough trouble for a lifetime and I am afraid it ends here for you." A slight stir in the air later, Sasuke and Kakashi stood at his sides, the Uchiha carrying a purple-haired woman in his arms. Ignoring Orochimaru with the alarmed look on Sasuke's face, Naruto rushed towards the prone woman. One sensing told him there was a foreign object in her body, something that did not belong there. "Lay her down," he commanded. Putting a hand on her abdomen, he sent tendrils of chakra throughout her body even as she convulsed. Finding the shard in her chest, he tried to pull it out with Airyo Ninjutsu, and stopped immediately as the Anbu screamed out into the sky. Stopping immediately, he drew conclusions fast. That shard had reacted strangely, this was bad. Very bad. He looked at Sasuke urgently, and spoke. "I cannot heal her here. That shard reacts to chakra, it burrows deeper inside her, it is constructed with Fuuin Jutsu and it requires patience and expertise to deal with. Mito, I and Tsunade should all work together to heal this woman," he said crisply. Sasuke nodded with closed eyes, opening them only as he turned towards the trapped Orochimaru. "I will kill you," he said in a quiet voice, and his eyes morphed into the Mangekyo Sharingan. Orochimaru chuckled from within his snake as the other 7 fell limply to the ground after all their chakra had been sucked out. The snake Sannin himself was staring at Naruto with a kind of absorbed fascination as, not caring as even his chakra was leached out by the wood dragon. "Kushios no Jutsu," said Naruto loudly, and Kakashi and Sasuke stared surprised as a large frog materialized. Naruto looked at the frog, who had 2 swords crossed behind him, and spoke firmly. "Gamma Hero, this shinobi is important to me," he said pointing at Yugao. "Get her to my Obakuzan immediately and try to sustain her as best as you can. I will summon you immediately when I reach Konoha. Go, now," he shouted. The frog took the Anbu with his long tongue, tucking her safely within his body. Then with a glance at the massive wood dragon and trapped Orochimaru, he disappeared with a huge puff of smoke. "Don't be so hasty with Orochimaru," said Naruto as he stopped Sasuke with a hand on his shoulder. "I have no doubt Akatsuki is watching right now, and I do not want to battle pain when your sensei awaits healing so desperately. Perhaps some other time," he said, glaring at the snake Sannin, whose face was growing pale and sickly as the last of his 8 snakes' chakra was leached out. The 8 snakes suddenly morphed back into Orochimaru, and the snake Sannin dropped to the ground with a thud. Kakashi and Sasuke watched silently as the wood dragon dissipated back into the earth, leaving Orochimaru gasping and prone upon the ground. "Is she safe?" asked Sasuke desperately, and Naruto nodded. "The toads will keep her safe. My Obakuzan is soaked in Senjutsu chakra and she will be stable there," he replied as he looked around the devastated village. The destruction of Oto was complete once more, but he had no doubt that it would once again be brought back to strength. Its position was far too strategic to leave it otherwise. Your strength is not ordinary." "I knew I was right," gasped out Orochimaru as he looked at Naruto from his position on the ground. Naruto looked at him distastefully. "About what?" "I know who you are," he choked out, even his considerable life force drained out by the wood dragon. "I have suspected it from the moment I was unable to summon Hashirama with Edo Tensei. It was too convenient," he said faintly, and Naruto stared at him with foreboding. "All the evidence points to it. I cannot summon the Shodai from the dead, and here you are with power and skill uncannily like his," he gasped out as he tried vainly to stand. He did manage a slumped standing position, so severe was his loss of chakra. He stared at the 3 Konoha shinobi, his face paler and sicker than ever. "Today only confirms my theories. My body is fully made of his cells. When you used wood release, I felt a resonance I have never felt before. It is too exact, too matching to be anyone else," he concluded as he looked up with a great effort. He did not flinch, not even when Naruto's sad green eyes met his. "I never thought I would meet you this way," slurred the snake Sannin. "Never like this, Senju Hashirama. Reborn into the body of a useless Uzumaki child, the mightiest ninja ever to walk the earth after the sage himself?" asked the Sannin wildly as he stared at the impassive Naruto. "I am afraid you must die, Orochimaru." "I cannot keep my word to Jiraiya," said Naruto grimly. "You will die now." Violent streaks suddenly ran across Orochimaru's face, and Naruto cursed at his own inattentiveness. During his monologue, the snake Sannin had been sneakily gathering Senjutsu chakra. The Sannin was surrounded by plumes of violet chakra and his mouth opened impossibly wide, spitting out another Orochimaru who looked completely rejuvenated. "What a turn of events," chuckled Orochimaru amidst the wrecked remains of his once teeming village. "I did not expect this of all things. The legends were not at all exaggerated, it seems. What unearthly might, what strength, Kukaku, it is a good time to be alive." "What are you slavering about?" asked Sasuke disdainfully. Orochimaru looked at them with his inhuman eyes, and spoke in a hissing caress. "Firstly, I have no intention of telling Akatsuki about your identity." Naruto and the others wore openly shocked looks at this declaration, and it took them a few moments to gather their minds. Naruto looked at the Sannin calmly. "And why should I believe you?" "Because," said Orochimaru, "we can come to a mutually beneficial agreement. I dislike Akatsuki, I hate the elemental nations and I loathe Konoha. They are all impediments in my goal." "To learn all the jutsu in the world?" asked Kakashi snidely. Orochimaru shook his head, still looking wonderingly at Naruto. "All the jutsu I can learn won't help me against you, will it, Senju Hashirama?" he asked in an almost delighted voice. His entire bearing seemed to speak of some great exhilaration as he set his eyes on the reborn Shodai. Naruto concluded that the Sannin was most likely insane, but nodded anyway. Who was he to dispute the truth? "Probably not," he agreed, and Orochimaru nodded. "I thought so as well. I am more useful to you alive than dead," he asserted. "I will be quite frank with you, Senju Hashirama. I will not come between you and the Akatsuki if I can help it. No one can do that and stay alive for notable amounts of time. It matters not to me whether you or Pain are the victors, what matters to me is my goal." "And what is your goal?" asked Naruto calmly. "I conceived it some time ago, and it has many components to it. No matter," he continued, "what is important is that I can help you by giving you information on Akatsuki. Do you agree?" he asked. At this Naruto's eyes widened considerably. "Let us kill him," said Sasuke angrily. "He cannot cause any problems then." "Please, Sasuke-kun," said Orochimaru urbanely. "If you can manage to do that, my subordinate Kabuto will see to it that your secret will reach Akatsuki immediately. If Tobi hears of this, He licked around with his overlarge tongue. No telling what he might do. He will most certainly bring down terrible wars upon the shinobi world that we are not yet ready to fight. There is much more to Akatsuki than even you, Hashirama, could possibly imagine. Your strength and wisdom are legendary, and I have no doubt you will choose wisely here. Not much left to choose. This young upstart has you by the balls, snorted the QB, laughing at his own joke. Quiet, Fox. Naruto was deep in thought for a few moments. Then he laughed out loud, looking at a faintly disturbed Orochimaru with highly amused eyes. Gah ha 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 ha. I have grown pretty dull in this life, laughed Naruto. Fine. I cannot really sense any deception from you now. Even the QB cannot sense any such thing, and no evil can escape his senses. Alright, Orochimaru, we do it your way. But, he whispered, his face going dark as he unleashed his chakra. Orochimaru fell down to his knees, staring at Naruto with wide eyes. Something that seemed to weigh thousands of tons pressed down upon him, cracks spidering out from Naruto's position all over the village. Sharp cracking sounds filled the village as several pieces of debris were crushed into powder that floated away in the wind. But if you betray us a second time, you will die, said Naruto in a matter-of-fact voice, letting his massive chakra dissipate suddenly. Orochimaru licked his lips yet again at feeling the chakra of Hashirama. He fixed his gaze on Naruto and spoke silkily. Very well. Let us meet upon the heaven and earth bridge after you finish healing that Anbu. Don't worry, he said to Sasuke, tossing him a piece of metal. Make an incision in her body and hold this metal over it. The shard inside her will come out and join this one. A curious thing. It is not magnetism but something else. Something fascinating. He trailed off. I'm not so sure about this, said Kakashi quietly. Naruto turned to him, and said, there is no option. He knows how to negotiate, he conceded as Orochimaru grinned his less-than-human smile. Then his face grew serious. We need to get back to Konoha. And soon. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.